They just want you to sit in your chair and go, hip hip hooray, for the Western press and the Western narrative, regurgitating the same old, same old, same old, every single day, without which please watch the first two episodes, the second series. Look at that.
Absolutely fascinating.
And it was the first time the Beatles had really stopped being semi-professional almost.
Hey everyone. Couldn't get myself on there. Good evening, it's about the purge tonight. You know, people don't realise that there was a purge going on in this country. You know, we don't do things like that because we're English, if you know what I mean. We're not like other countries, you know, where they purge and whatever, if you know what I mean. So anyway, tonight we'll be talking about some characters, Anthony and myself. So I hope you enjoy it, to be honest. I really do, because, and I'll tell you another thing as well. Andy said to me ages ago, he says, hey Frank, he said, you lectured in there about these Roman fellas. I said, yeah. Sorry about me mad head, you know, it's all over the place at the moment. It's not vanity, believe it or not, it's not vanity. But anyway, he said, would you do the Romans one night in the history thing? I said, yeah. And I got a comment up of somebody, I forget who it was, unfortunately. And they said, you know, about Romans. I said, yeah. I said, we'll do that. So we'll do that one night. Excuse me, I took a drop of water, you know, and I went down there and go, God blimey, I don't stop coughing. This is just before I come on, by the way. So anyway, without further ado, I'm going to bring on Anthony and we'll discuss a few little things. And there he is, my old mate. Hey, Anthony.
Good evening, dear sir. You're right, mate.
Yeah, I took a drop of water just before I was coming on live.
Yeah.
And it went down there on goal. And there's no worse than that. You know, a little trickle goes down there on goal. And
absolutely. I've done it with everything. But in all the years, I've never spilt a grouse. Cups at tea, everything. Wearing one t-shirt is the worst thing in the world. It's like you take a swig of something and someone will say, what time is it, Anthony? And you go, oh, shit, damn shit.
But, yeah. Right.
I thought you might have done that miracle thing of turning the water into wine. And
well, there you go, you say. Or that could go into vodka or gin, couldn't it?
It could do, yeah, you know.
But anyway, you know, tonight we go. But before I start, I just want to say about this, what's happening today, which is an absolute disgrace.
It's a nightmare.
And, you know, Trump is wanting to start a war with Iran.
Yeah.
And it's shocking. It really is shocking. And you're getting the likes of this Kaya Callas one, who's an absolute disgrace, by the way. She's an absolute disgrace. and she's going on about Russia. That's all she ever goes on about, Russia doing this and Russia doing that, and and it's shocking, Anthony. And the whole of the EU, they don't know what they're doing. They haven't a clue. Trump wants to take Greenland.
Yeah.
He said, if they don't hand it over, we'll go in by force. What kind of a person is he?
He's an
What does he have to go into sovereign countries?
horrific. He's a horrific person. And we could go on about him, and we will do. Sometimes it'll come up, but it's the machinery and the people behind that one fat bloated puppet.
That's all he is, a puppet. And this is what I know. He's a puppet. You know he's a puppet. The people on here know he's a puppet, and it's wrong. But he shouldn't. He's a powerful man, and he should just say no. Because I was listening to some general today, American general, and he gave the 5 axes out as usual: North Korea, Iran, Russia, and China. And none of those countries, okay, you've got the exception with Russia going into, Russia going into Ukraine, but there was a motive for that. There was a reason for them to go into it. Yet China's never invaded anybody. North Korea hasn't invaded anybody. Iran has never invaded anybody. You see what I mean? It's absolutely ridiculous. And these are the 5 axes because America says these are horrible people.
And yet,
they want regime changes everywhere. Sorry.
You and I and lots and lots of our chatters have been through this this discrimination. Who are the greatest medics that have looked after us over years? The Chinese, the Iranians, Russian intelligence, Chinese intelligence to further on medicine.
Yeah.
They're not taking a swipe at anyone. Not that I see.
But no one's seen it though. That's the problem. And yet they believe in things. And I put up today, and I've got to show our people this as well. Do you ever remember that little girl I showed you?
Yes.
Just bear with me on this. Bear with me on this, mate. Do you ever remember this? And I'm going to call out someone. The little Ghanaian girl, and she was given a lollipop.
Yeah.
Now, I've been looking for that for ages. Couldn't find it until I went on, a thing come up on Facebook, right? That beautiful little child, right? Look at her crying. Now, a comment came up, and it's by a friend of mine, and I couldn't believe what he said. I couldn't believe Frank, Francis Lawton, Frank Lawton.
Yeah.
He said, this is a professional Hamas propaganda film. Genocide happens on the 7th of October, 2023. The first, I can't read, I've got my glasses on. On 20, whatever that fucking says, you reap what you sow. That's what he said about that little fucking girl. My reply once, oh, for fuck's sake. It's shocking.
That's mine too. You reap what you sow.
That's propaganda. Because when I was looking for it last week, I was going to tell our people
Yes.
that that little girl is dead. And I wouldn't even fucking mention it to him. I've finished with him now. He can go and fuck off. He's the same fella who comes on. I've got no respect for him anymore, not after this. But he always comes on my football show and throws a little fucking snide remark in. You know what I mean? And then fucks off. He doesn't, he doesn't come back or anything. If you know what I mean. Little snide remark. Well, he can fuck off now. Fucking finished with him. After that. Little girl. She's fucking dead, and he went, it's a mass fucking propaganda. And he doesn't fucking realise that the 7th of October's been debunked. And it was actually the Israeli soldiers and the gunboats, those fucking helicopters, who were shooting their own people and blaming the Hamas. And burning babies and raping and all this nonsense, beheading them. Oh, fuck.
This is the modern day screenplay, isn't it? Because of course you wouldn't get the Americans shooting their own, would you?
No. Oh yeah. You've only got to look at ice now, haven't you?
Yes.
The Battle of the Bulge, and they were fucking bombing the Americans were bombing their own, killing their own. Bombing them, they're indiscriminate. And I always remember the Iraqi war, a gunboat. You know what I'm talking about, gunboats, these helicopters.
Yeah.
They went after an ambulance with a big red cross on, the top of it. And they fucking fired on it, blew it up. There was 17 young British lads in it. And Bush said, we're sorry. And the pilot said, it was collateral damage, we're sorry. You see what I mean?
Yeah, I do see what you mean. And,
I'm fucking sick of it.
If our people with us tonight think that we're going off on one, we're not. Because this has been going on historically.
Yeah.
Forever.
Well, let's see what the lads are saying, and the girls. And then we'll start talking about the page in this country.
Yeah.
Even if Frank and Anthony says TW.
Even in TW.
And he carries on by saying, smash the likes and subscribe, please.
Brilliant. Thank you.
And Johan, good evening, Frank, an international artist, Mr. Brown. 3 Scotches for the other. Look, there's your grouse there for you. Smash the likes on the way in, legends. Isn't that lovely?
Well, I shall raise those grouse to you, Johan, and you, Frank.
Thanks very much.
Good day so far.
And Daryl, Frankie, Anthony.
Oh, Daryl. Good evening, mate.
That's Daryl says, puppets on a string. Yeah, of course he is.
Yeah.
And he calls him a psycho.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Absolutely.
And Bella says, Buonasera, Franco and Antonio and everyone. Hope you're all well, says the lovely Bella.
That's beautiful. Thank you, Bella. We hope you are too.
And she says, a beautiful baby killed. She never grew up to be old. Nor get married, nor have children of her own, nor she's just lived a life of constant bombing and shelling and shooting.
And that line, reap what you sow.
Yeah, that was horrible, that.
She's a little girl. She doesn't
Finished.
sound anything. She just is.
Yeah.
Was.
Johan says, for Zionist history begins on October the 7th, 2023. For the rest of us, this started during the Nakba in 1948. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Barry Skywalker, even in Frank, even in Barry, he's a new lad. He's a new lad. There's Barry. And the Polo says, hi, Frank and Anthony. Sorry, I'm late. No, you're not late.
Not late at all, Polo. Good evening to you.
But anyway, what we want to start off is, they think that I'm a historian, as you know, and I've had to study everything, English, everything, haven't we? What we did, and from characters to everything. I'll have to think of a drop of water because that's not half upset me. What I was talking about that little girl. Really upset me. And that comment. Can't believe it. Can't believe it. Anyway, people think that Great Britain and whatever. And even when Thatcher at the time said, I want to put the grape back into Britain. And I even said at that time, and I'm talking the 80s, I said, what has great got to do? What is great about it? We were pirates. The likes of Drake, for example, he was a pirate. And because he gave half of the booty to the realm, he was a privateer. But we were pirates on the high seas. We were the greatest seafaring nation on the planet at the time. But we were pirates.
Yeah.
Stealing from, other ships.
Yeah.
Especially the French and the Spanish and the Portuguese. just boarding their ships and stealing. But when you go back to 1534, for example, and then you had Henry VIII on the throne. His dad had gone, Henry VII, and he became a king. And it was a Catholic throne. That's what it was. So he was a Catholic. But Henry, he married, he was married anyway, and then he divorced Catherine of Aragon. So by the time he divorced her, because he fancied some other one.
Yeah.
He fancied Anne Boleyn, and he went, oh, she's all right. I think I'll have a grip of her. So he had to go to the Church of Rome to get a divorce. So they went, all right then. So they presented them with a divorce. So we married Anne Boleyn, and she has a daughter, apparently, named Elizabeth.
Yeah.
I'm just thinking about that bloody thing. Anyway, this is the start of it. So he wanted to marry again. And the church said no. So he became, I'm putting this in a nutshell, he became at Church of England. He broke away from the Church of Rome and presented himself as leader of the Church of England. So you've got the Church of Rome, then you've got the Church of England. So he became leader. So he was excommunicated. In other words, he was excommunicated from the Church of Rome. So now he's the leader. So there was a new. He had what you've got to loads of sycophants around him, and these people seen all what you call Catholic land. Catholic lands, and they were saying to themselves, we can have this, especially the churches and the abbeys. The churches and abbeys. They said, we can have all this land. And that's what they did. They went out. And what Catholics, who didn't want to become part of the Church of England, they were being targeted. And they were targeted by these people who surrounded themselves with Henry.
Yes.
And they said, well, what can we do? It's just like Russia today. The EU have sanctioned them. America's sanctioned Russia. So they decided to sanction these people and giving them heavy fines, very heavy fines, these Catholic estates. So anyway, they were paying off the fines. But that was going right through the years. Right through the years. Walsingham. Walsingham was a man who was a fervent of keeping the line going, keeping the protest line, which later became Protestant, Protestant against the Church of Rome. So anyway, he said, we've got to keep this line going. And who came aboard? Mary Queen of Scots. No, not Mary Queen of Scots. Mary Tudor. She became queen after the death of Henry. And she was known as Bloody Mary. Now, do you think that was a good thing, to call her Bloody Mary?
It was a horrifying thing, really. It was. I think it was a name conjured up to install fear.
Spot on. Because you have the people saying to her, listen, these people over here, they want a coup against you. You need to get rid of them. So she was signing death warrants left, right and centre, and they were being executed. And hence Bloody Mary. But she was being advised wrongfully.
Yes.
Wrongfully being advised. Because they wanted to get rid of her, but little did they know that she was an ill girl as well. She was ill, she was sick. Just like little Edward was. He was sick when he became king. And he died. Very young age. He was only a kid. And he died. Hence Mary. I'm sorry I never mentioned that Edward becoming the king. But anyway, Mary had this title of Bloody Mary. And as I said, she was getting all this advice off people. They were just conjuring up, he's him over there, he hates you. He wants to start a coup. And so anyway, Bloody Mary was the nickname that she had. So, but this kept going on. Now, there was one barrier when Elizabeth became Queen. Elizabeth, right?
Yeah.
So Elizabeth became Queen. And there was one barrier in front of her. And that was Mary, Queen of Scots, who was Catholic.
Yeah.
And they were terrified in case she said, right, this is my throne. Which is right, actually, because it stems from Henry VII.
Yeah.
Right? Because if you look today, from Henry VII right through his line, now don't forget, Henry had changed the whole concept of the line. He changed it all. by becoming Church of England, right? So anyway, the line stems from then Henry VII right up to today is the Duke of Norfolk. Now the Duke of Norfolk is the rightful owner. He should be king today. He should be king. But we'll get back to that a bit later on. So what you have now, this particular line stopped, and there's Mary Queen of Scots. Mary Queen of Scots. And she was the big barrier, and they were terrified. The likes of Walsingham. They were all terrified of Mary Queen of Scots by taking over the throne. Because what would have happened if, I tell you, excuse me, I'm sorry I forgot about this. That little girl's upset me in that comment before. I'm awfully sorry about this. Mary Queen of Scots, but not Mary Queen, Queen Mary, Bloody Mary. She was Catholic. So they had to get rid of her. They had to get rid of her. No matter what you read today, they had to get rid of her because she was Catholic. And why they had to get rid of her was everybody was terrified because of all the land that was taken away from the Catholic communities.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, give it all back.
Yeah. And you also had what you call pursuivants. Now, these pursuivants used to go around to these Catholic homes and used to just barge in and take what they wanted. Even on the farms, they just used to go to the farms and take all the produce. And they couldn't do anything at all. The people who owned these big estates, they couldn't do nothing. They couldn't do a thing. They just had to pay fines. They were being robbed left, right, and centre. And sometimes murdered, by the way. And they used to threaten the staff. If you don't become, a protester, you could end up dying. And that's what it was like. Priests were banned from the country. Priests, to come in and say the mass or whatever. So anyway, this is what was going on right through Elizabeth's reign. Now, you've got to think about Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth, remember Walsingham when he said, we've got to carry on the line, right? So when he died, oh, by the way, when Henry died, he begged, he knew he was dying, and he begged the Church of Rome to stop the excommunication, and he wanted to die a Catholic. So they granted him that wish, his dying wish, and Henry VIII died a Catholic. But nothing was done. You see, don't forget you had all these people, the people that surrounded him. And they getting all the land.
Yeah. All the Snides.
They were all Snides, every single one of them. But the snidiest thing about it was the purge of the Catholics. And I'm talking about every Catholic here. Because all these estates, they were saying, if your children, they can't be educated. Your children, and these are the privileged people. Your children can't be educated. They won't be educated unless they turn, to the protesters and follow the Church of England.
Yeah.
But anyway, this is where governesses came in, educated people, because they said no. Lots of them said you're okay, and they turned them into protesters. So they gave up their religion, albeit that the parents were still Catholic, you see. So they were being purged in every possible way, every Catholic. Let's see what our little people are saying. Bella says, but one thing we can take out of horrible things that happen in the war, the angels wait for children by the hands of murders. Yes. Ambi, good evening, Frank, Anthony, and chatters. Good evening, Ambi.
Good evening, Gambie.
Polo says, funny that all Henry VIII wives were Catholic and Henry still did mass every day. Yes. Albeit because he didn't want to go too well, you see. That's why he said there.
Yeah.
Because he was educated. And the Polo says, Frank, why do we have a Georgian, a German? I'm sorry, I'll have to get my glasses up. I wonder if Jason's home, because we need a break, don't we?
He might be home now, but he said he wouldn't be around off time.
Yeah. Oh, half time. No, okay then. But anyway, Frank, why do we have German royal house in our country? We could be going on about that. We'll come to that, to be honest. Polo, we'll go on about that.
Yeah.
He's talking about the Georgian era, and even up to now.
Well, even before you've just diagnosed the line was diverted.
Yeah. Yeah, because from Henry, I mean,
So
right? Yeah, because if you look at like the king today, Charles, his particular line is all skew with. It's all over the place. But if you go from Henry VII, it's just a straight line to the Norfolks. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
You know the family tree.
Yes.
So what you're at now, as I said, you're at the barrier. And that was Mary Queen of Scots because she was Catholic. And she also had a son named James. Right?
Yeah.
So they were looking at him as well. They said, well, you know, there's something happens here, especially to Elizabeth. Now, let's get what things in perspective. You're at the likes of Bolson, who said it's imperative that we have a line to keep the protests going, you know, against Rome, that is, because they wanted to save their own, what they were doing, you know, all the getting all this land, if you know what I mean, all the Catholic land.
Yeah.
Then, when Walsingham went, you had William. Who's William?
William Cecil.
William Cecil. So you had him, right? And he was the same. So you've got to ask yourself, because we'll talk about Robert in a minute, the son of William. So you had Walsingham, who said it was imperative that we should have a heir to the throne. Yeah?
Yeah.
Now, there's a big caveat here. Big caveat. The barrier was Mary Queen of Scots, who was Catholic. Now, she was a hardened queen, and she just believed in Catholicism. She just believed in it. And she said, you should never break away from the true church. That's what she said.
Yeah.
The true church. And this is all in the 1500s. Yeah. All in the 1500s. Now, let's not digress, but let's get away from this line and this line of Henry. Now we're in the Elizabethan era. And what you've got there looking over, other people are looking over at Spain. Now, Spain has been conquering the Caribbean, Brazil, and the southern states of, we'll call them the southern states of America, right? So they've been conquering there. So this fellow by the name of Sir Humphrey Gilbert, now he was the half brother of Sir Walter Raleigh, who we know. And he turned around to Elizabeth and said, listen, he said, I need a license, I need permission to go to the New World. Because the New World, what we've been told, is that they're preaching the devil's religion. And we need to go there to teach them the true religion. That's the Church of England, you see. So they said, okay, we'll give you, permission. So he had his license. Now, the thing is, he couldn't go to Portugal, he couldn't go to Spain, he couldn't go to France, he couldn't go to Holland to experiment. Because don't forget, they've been nowhere near America. So they needed to go into a country to see how the natives, the indigenous people, would react. So what did they pick on? Where do you think he picked on? Well, he picked on Ireland.
Okay.
He picked on Ireland. As I said, he couldn't go to Portugal, Spain, or France, or Holland. So he changed his attention to see how Ireland would react. And what he did was he gathered up an army of English and Scottish. Picked up, and they even sailed from here in Liverpool. And you can actually see a relief. What I show people when I've been out, I said, yeah, look, there they are there. And it's a relief, a big relief on the Walker Gallery. People don't even know about it. But I showed them it, and they're surprised. They set sail from here to get to Ireland under Sir Humphrey Gilbert. And when he went there, it was dreadful. And again, it's not only the English that were being purged with executions for not turning to, or, not excommunicating themselves from the Church of Rome, but also the Irish. And this is how the English went into countries. Can I just go and get something? I've got to read this, if you don't mind. Just let me get the thing, okay? Won't be a moment. Sorry about this, Anthony. Got to bring it in. Got me bloody glasses. Sorry about that. Really sorry, but this needs to be read out. And when we went over to Ireland, and this was a scribe from Liverpool named Thomas Churchyard. And he wrote this. Now, this is Sir Humphrey Gilbert, by the way. Gilbert himself played a prominent part in the suppression of this rebellion because the Irish they started to fight them. Who the fuck are you? They were saying. Anyway. And as Colonel of the Army in Munster, he was in command of the operations and conducted them with such ferocity and such contempt for the Irish as to shock even those accustomed to the brutality of warfare at the time. Because warfare at the time, from medieval onwards, was shocking. Yeah. The battles, they were shocking. Brutal, very brutal. And, people think that the likes of Vlad, the vampire, the Impaler, Vlad the Impaler, spiked people. That was brutality at the time, spiking them and putting them up, and just letting them lie there.
Yeah.
Okay. And then it goes on to say, he deliberately killed women and children along with their men that laid waste the land in order to cause famine. Famine. So, when we talk about the 1845 famine, no, there was one in 1566 that kills hundreds of thousands of them. He scorched the land. This fella. He cut off the heads of his dead enemies and formed a lane of heads to the door of his tent so that all his prisoners should pass through that lane. And these heads were spiked and they were just stuck in the ground. Every head was looking upwards. And everybody who was passing along that lane to the door of his tent, as he called them, his enemies, and these were the Irish, It was their land. It was their sovereign land. And they had to look, they were made to look at these heads of children, of men, of women, people who they knew. Anyway, Gilbert boasted this himself. And he said when he wrote to a great poet named Sidney, I slew all of them from time to time that did belong to, feed, or accompany, or maintain any outlaws or traitors. And after my first summoning of any castle or fort, if they would not presently yield it, I would not take it afterwards. I'd take it of their gift, but won it perforce. How many lives soever it cost, putting man, woman, and child of them to the sword.
Genocide.
Of course it was. Of course it was.
Evilness beyond belief.
And there you have it. That's now, but that was happening also here. If you didn't turn to protest against Rome, It was happening here. This was the page, not just an island, used as a stepping stone. It was already being carried out here. And you don't call them pages, you call them ethnic cleansing. And how many times have we heard that over the past few years, just here? Oh, they're ethnic cleansing.
Wow.
Putin actually said to the EU and the West from 2014 onwards, there's ethnic cleansing and genocide going on in the Donbass area. Can you do something about it? And he was pleading with them for 8 years, and he said, I've had enough of this, I've got to go in to save Russian-speaking people and the Russian culture and the Russian church, Christian church. That's why that was the motive he went in. I had to compare it today, because when you go back then, you know, everything is brushed under the carpet.
Yeah.
How many people on here knew about what was going on in this country during this period? Not many.
No, I wouldn't.
Not many. Okay, now let's have a look at Elizabeth. Let's have a look at her, eh, Anthony?
Yeah.
Now, Elizabeth, remember, it was imperative that they'd have a line, a hair. So therefore, to have a hair, she'd have to what? She'd have to get married, wouldn't she?
Yeah. Yeah. So
She'd
the
have to
husband
get
and
married.
children.
Have you never heard of the Earl of Essex?
Yes.
Well, the Earl of Essex, you see, he was always saying, all right, mate, do you fancy, you know. But thing is, she was rebuffing him all the time. Right? So why was she rebuffing the Earl of Essex? He was a handsome man, by the way. He's a big handsome man. He looked like Errol Flynn. Could you imagine someone looking like Errol Flynn during the 1500s, if you know what I mean?
Well, I would rebuff him.
So would I. Most probably. Why? Because every artist had to make Elizabeth. What people see of Elizabeth today is not a real portrait of her.
No.
Because they had to make her look. Now, why did they say make her look feminine? Why did Elizabeth wear white powder all across her face? All across her face. So let's get into the characteristics of Elizabeth. She had male pattern baldness. That's why she always wore the wig. Right?
Yeah.
Also, she was 6'1". For a woman, 6'1". So to look at a woman going back then who was 6'1", had male pattern baldness, had big hands and big feet, and was very hirsute. That's why she always wore a ruffle. Every portrait has a ruffle. There was no waxing in those days, if you know what I mean. Because she was very hirsute. She spoke with a gruff voice. She had an Adam's apple. So she would have been a freak of nature for a woman, a female, to have an Adam's apple and male pattern baldness. And why would artists be told to make her look feminine? Why did she wear all this? Oh, by the way, She shaved every day. And I know that you have freak shows, going back to the early part of the 20th century, where you did have these freak circuses where you
Yeah.
had women with beards.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But looking back at it, so we had engravers at the time, but they weren't here. They weren't from here. They were from the likes of Holland and other places.
You were Paris.
Can I show something?
Yeah. Please do.
You're gonna love this. Now these engravers, they just engraved what they seen. They just engraved what they seen. And there's what they seen. Now look at Elizabeth there. Does she look like a man?
To me, it kind of looks like three guys at the end of a bar.
It does, doesn't it? You've got the likes of Burley, Lord Burley, who confiscated loads of Catholic land. You've got the likes of Walsingham, who said it was imperative that the heir should be, so therefore Elizabeth should marry. There was a saying, wasn't there, about Elizabeth, why she never married. And do you know what it was?
She was married to her country.
She was married to the country, is right. She was married to the country. You couldn't make this up. You can't make these things up. Anyway. Let's see what our lads and girls have been saying. Little Linda's with us. Even if Frank and Anthony. Hiya, Linda.
Evening, Linda.
And actually says, Henry V sets sail from Southampton for Agincourt. Stays in the Red Lion pub. The pub is still there and open. It's, open. It's well old. Yeah, you wouldn't go Henry V.
Real?
Shakespeare wrote about him. The English Royal Court says polo was very provisional and for 1,000 years until Elizabeth I. After that, it was fill your boots for the elite class. Brilliant. Says the polo.
Brilliant. Thank you, Polo.
And he carries on, he's saying, you're correct, brutally. Famine, scorched earth was common practice with the Ottomans, English Russia, 16th century, Armenian genocide. Yes, well said, Polo. Johan, as Shakespeare eloquently wrote, hell is empty and all the devils are here.
Yes. And Sir Humphrey was most definitely one of them, Johan.
Get onto this. Just what Johan says. The original Brigitte Macron. Oh, that was brilliant, Owen. And Owen. Hiya, Owen. Good evening, Frank Anthony in chat. Sorry, a bit late. No problem. No problem. Owen, lad. Good to see that you're there with us. So you see, as you said, it's like three fellas just, by a bar having a bevy.
Yeah.
And I've got a newspaper. Well, it's not a newspaper cutting. don't know where it is. Yeah, let's see.
Interesting point you brought up before about, because we know of propaganda and lies, and it tends to be as a speech, as a statement, as a fact, an absolute lying fact. But propaganda was always used in the arts as well.
Of course.
As you've said, the artists were hired to paint her stunningly beautiful, whereas Mary Queen of Scots was stunningly beautiful, but she was painted as if she was an ironing board,
Yeah,
just nothing, just flat. And that's
precisely.
the wonders of modern artwork and generation and stuff. Um, Not all AI, long before AI, but people pieced together what she actually looks like. And she was beautiful, you know, not
Not
like
a
it.
bad looking woman. Yeah, especially for the time, if you
Yes,
know what I mean.
yeah,
Especially, I'm just going to take you off a moment, Anthony. I
yeah.
want to show something. I want to show something. Won't be a minute. And that's a big newspaper cutting, that. There you have it. See the ruffle around the neck? So you see, it's not only what we say, it's what other people say. It's historians. It's historians who say, and even the Spanish historians. Now they've got nothing against Elizabeth, or all right, they has it. They had something against the country because we were always at war with them. But they had nothing against. If she was being a woman, there was just like carry on there. She was a woman who marries a country. But they said no, she's a man. So how did they know? How did they know?
But they spent time at the court, didn't they?
Yeah, yeah, haven't they? Polo says, Frank, was the Mary Queen of Scots all French or Spanish descent?
French. Well, she spent time in France,
Yeah,
and that's where she was educated and spent so many early part of her life.
there you go. There you go. And it's strange because, okay, let's get back now to Elizabeth, right? Now let's get to Robert Cecil. Robert the Cess. Let's get back to him. Now there's Mary, look, with the ruffle and everything. But you see how they made her to look feminine, this particular person, to make her look feminine, or
Elizabeth,
make the
yeah.
person look feminine. A big tight waist, a nice little face. But she didn't look like that at all, or he didn't look like that at all. And look, there you go.
Mary Queen of Scots,
Yeah,
who actually looked far more attractive than that, but there is no painted record of her in her. Um, do you know the science? We've seen it blossom over 50 years when scientists and archaeologists find a skull and they can mold what the face characteristics would have looked like. They've done that for years and years and years, and they did it with Mary Queen of Scots. And now, with it living in the virtual digital society world, that there's now anyone can go out and check half a dozen different sites, and all would show you that she was a stunningly beautiful woman who was only in a mid-20s when she was imprisoned. You know, I think she was 44 when we lost her. And, wow, totally not what these images are showing us.
Yeah, well, that's what you call propaganda.
Yeah.
And there he is.
Where is this?
Go on.
I say me expletives, but this Trump-like person was a horror.
In
Yeah.
every possible way.
Every way. He was just evilness. He was just rancid. He was just power hungry. And as would have it, guess who's not surprised? The history books write him up as a glowing hero. Wonderful man. Not.
Well, this is propaganda, you see. No matter how you look at it, it's all propaganda. And
Yes.
propaganda lives today. And
Yeah.
we had Joseph Goebbels, when he was talking about propaganda, he said, no one can beat the British for propaganda.
No.
That's what he said, Joseph Goebbels, the great propagandist of Nazi Germany. So
Well,
there you have it, you know, if he's saying it.
Yeah.
Right, so Robert Cecil.
Robert Cecil. And this, whoa. Just this bucket of rancid. This is Sir Humphrey Gilbert. Sir Humphrey Gilbert. Failed explorer, not mentioned.
No, it's never mentioned.
Failed everything.
Yep.
Which
And
led
this is how Ireland was left from 1566 when he went over. He stayed there till 1569, and he tried to get to America, but he failed, as you said.
Yeah. Yeah. And his crew of able captains and seamen said, you don't want to do that, sir. And he said, I know better than anyone. I'll do that. And he ended up drowning at sea.
Do you know what he had in his hand? What he said he had in his hand? He said he had a Bible in his hands, and I said, you know, I didn't.
I don't think so.
He wouldn't have a fucking Bible in his fucking.
This is a great myth, isn't it? And this is the greatest propaganda in the world is that all these people have God on their side. No, they don't. What they do is in spite. And just when we think we've tidied up all the filth, you come along with the glorious bucket of.
Exactly. So what has happened now, and Robert Cecil had the great pursuer, 13th in line to the throne as well, the Earl of Essex.
Yeah.
But all as the Earl of Essex wanted was power himself. So he was sent to Ireland because what you had Catholics who were rebelling. They were saying, listen, we want emancipation here. You know, to Elizabeth, you know, let's call her Elizabeth for the sake of calling Elizabeth. And Robert Cecil, who was the most powerful man Now, his dad's William, he was the most powerful man. Walsingham was the most powerful man. But now they've passed on, they're dead. So Robert Cecil took over the mantle as being the most powerful man on the land.
Yeah.
And
he was the spy master, wasn't he, Frank?
He was an unbelievable man. An unbelievable man, but a ruthless man. Brutal in every possible way. So anyway, what you had this sort of scenario where this spy master, as you called him, which he was, by the way, ruled with an iron rod. He ruled with an iron rod. Did Robert Cecil. And when he knew that Elizabeth, was on her lassies, he sent for Mary Queen of Scots. She was dead, unfortunately. And who signs her death warrant?
Elizabeth.
Elizabeth signs a death warrant.
But she waited a month, and all the voices, the snags, saying, you got to get it done, move on.
Hurry up. That's what it was, hurry up. And she was executed anyway. But that she was out the way now. The barrier was down. But there was another barrier, and that was the son of Mary Queen of Scots. Now that son was James the Sixth now of Scotland, but he was power hungry as well. So Cecil went to him and said, listen, if you want, because Elizabeth was on her lassies, there was no heir to the throne. Do you see what I mean? How it was imperative.
Yeah.
So they went to him. Now he was Catholic, like his mother. And he said to him, listen, if you want to become King of England, which he will be, you know what I mean? He said, you've got to renounce your Catholicism. And they were praying that he would renounce his Catholicism. But he was also threatened as well. He said, you won't last 5 minutes. If you became king, the people will get rid of you. Well, it was a lie. Anyway, so he said, okay, yeah. So he renounced. So he became, he was James the Sixth of Scotland. Now he became James the First of England. He became James the First. And she died in 1603, but in 1601, I'm sorry, I have to go back to Robert Cecil and the likes of the Earl of Essex. Now, the Earl of Essex, he knew something was wrong. He knew something was wrong with the realm, with Elizabeth. And Cecil didn't like this, so he sent him to Ireland. So the Earl of Essex was in Ireland, and he said, what the fuck am I doing here? Sorry to swear, people. He said, what the fuck am I doing here? Why am I here? Why am I killing these people? So anyway, there was these other lads who were rebelling. They wanted the emancipation for the Catholic communities.
Yeah.
Because they couldn't say mass or anything. They couldn't go to their services. They used to smuggle priests in. But if anyone was caught, any priest, say like you and I, said, oh, there's a priest then. Well, look, there he is. There. We get a reward. Or we could kill him and still get a reward to kill a priest. So you had these homes you had these homes that were, they had little island hiding places. And funny enough, here in Liverpool, at the end of Scotland Road, Great Ormond Street, the Skirving Street, there's a Skirving Street which is still there today. But the houses there, they used to hide a priest. And this particular little place was known as St. Anthony's. This little place.
Beautiful.
And they used to hide the priest in there. While, you know, any community around went to the mass there in this home. In Skirving Street, the end of Great Ormond Street and Scotland Road. And as I said, the street's still there today, Skirving Street, but that's for another time, that's like later on.
Lovely.
So we had one here, but they were all over the place. They were all over the place. Now, you had the Catholics who were with, they were sent over also with the Earl of Essex to Ireland. And then you had one of them who said, listen, one of these people who was with, the Catholic, who was with the Earl of Essex, and he said, do you know that Elizabeth is not really Elizabeth? It's a male. And he comes from Bisley. Elizabeth died. Elizabeth drowned. And the Queen Dowager, she was terrified because she was minding Elizabeth. So they dressed up a boy who was the same age. Hence, and this is what the Earl of Essex, and he said, so he decided there to have a coup. Now, the Earl of Essex was 13th in line to the throne, but he also wanted power. So he was made up when he heard this, and he was going to have a coup in England. So he got his troops, and he said, are you with me? And he said, yeah, with me. We're with you. No problem. Get rid of them. And he came over, but there was a spy within the group, and he was a spy for Robert Cecil, and his name was Lord Monteagle, who was the cousin of one of these people, Sir Francis Tresham. And he got back to Cecil, and he said, listen, these are coming over, you know. It's a coup. They found out about Elizabeth. He said, oh, have they? Okay, thanks. So what had happened, they arrested the Earl of Essex. They arrested him and put him in the Tower. And we all know what happened to him. He had a trial. But what you read about the trial is a load of nonsense. It's a load of nonsense. And then they beheaded him. So he was done away with. But he wanted the Catholics. He wanted these Catholics who was with Essex. So he had to make up a plan. And this Lord Monteagle, again, they didn't know that he was a spy. He was spying for Robert Cecil. And it was said, these Catholics said, listen, you know, we've got to make a demonstration. We have to make a demonstration here. And the demonstration was to have a little bang. So they were wondering where they could get like gunpowder, because Catholics in those days were not allowed to have any sort of weapon, no weapons whatsoever, whether it'll be a sword or a dagger, and especially gunpowder. There's no way that they could get hold of gunpowder. Yet they got some, and they smuggled it from France. But it was only a tiny bit. And they were going to make a demonstration at Parliament. At Parliament. And that demonstration was going to be the downfall of these people. But that's another thing. And they were known as the gunpowder plotters of 1605.
Yeah.
They were known as the gunpowder plotters. And Cecil had them. And he rounded them up. He rounded all the plotters up. But there was only 12 of them. And yet they had to make it 13. For the evilness, you see. 13, the unlucky number, the evil number.
Yeah.
And there was a place called Holbeach in the Midlands. And Holbeach is surrounded by woods. It's in the middle of a woods. And any place that's in a woods is evil, because light doesn't penetrate. And this is how, like in the Shakespearean times, this is how they taught and they wrote about Holbeach. And also, which must be pointed out, that no Catholic could move within a radius of 5 miles of where they lived.
Yeah.
Or they'd be arrested, put on trial, and most probably executed. But they allowed them to go around. There was always spying on them. A fellow by the name of Thomas Winter came here to Lord Molyneux. And he said, listen, he says, you've got to help us. And he said, I can't help. What can I do? Because these were Catholics. And he said, listen, my advice is go to the King of Spain, see what he can do. If he can write or something, and say, listen, these people need emancipation. They want to go to the services. They have to have priests. They have to have the church. So we said, okay. Thomas Winter became one of the plotters. And he was one of the plotters. He was arrested. So they had to have 13 of them. So what they did, they got one who was a servant to Robert Catesby, who was the leader of the plotters. Because Robert Catesby, his family were heavily fined, terribly fined, and they lost all the land. Like other plotters as well. They were losing the land left, right, and centre. So you had the spy, Lord Monteagle, who was giving us all this to Cecil. And he said, here's what he said. He said, they've got some gunpowder and they're going to make a demonstration at the Parliament. And Cecil was absolutely delighted. So what had happened was, there was a subplot, a government subplot, to round them all up. But that, again, that's for another time. And we all know what happened to the gunpowder plotters.
Yeah.
They were rounded up and went on trial. And the likes of Robert Cecil, when they were being interrogated in prison, no other scribe could go to get their confessions. He was the only scribe there, and he was writing down. And what he was writing down was a load of nonsense. It was a load of lies. It was a load of propaganda. Even at the trial, he allowed nobody in the trial a scribe. So the transaction, or everything that came out, the transcript from the trial, is a load of nonsense, because it was Cecil who was writing it.
Yeah.
And every time that they went into like the witness box or whatever it is, they had back in the day, and they were saying, no, it wasn't like that. No. We didn't want to blow up Parliament. No, but he said, yeah, we wanted to injure the good king. We're sorry. I hope God forgives me and all this. This is what was written by Cecil, instead of writing what they were actually saying. So what you read about the gunpowder plot and the trial and the transcript of the trial is a load of bollocks, as they say.
Yes.
But there was one man there.
Yeah.
One man. He wasn't only a scribe, he was a genius. And that man was sitting at the trials every single day, listening. And who was that man, do you think?
That man was the great William Shakespeare.
Absolutely. He was sitting there. And this was in, see, you had a letter, and the letter was given to Lord Monteagle, of all people. And he brought it to Robert Cecil. And one thing it never said, it never mentioned gunpowder, it didn't mention the date, it didn't mention anything like that. Only, if you preserve your life, don't go to Parliament. But it doesn't tell you the date.
No.
It's a load of nonsense. Because it was Cecil himself who wrote it and told, gave it to a runner, bring that to Lord Monteagle. Lord Monteagle received the letter. He was waiting for it anyway. He was waiting for it. And Cecil had all the Privy Council sitting there, and they were saying, well, why were you here, Because they used to see each other now and again, it wasn't ever full, they all weren't there at once, but they were all there at once this night.
Yeah.
And Lord Monteagle came in with the letter and said, I've just received this, my lord. And he read it out.
Show begins.
The show begins. So he rounded them all up. As I said, they were all in jail. He was making all the confessions, which was a load of nonsense. They were tortured, by the way, terrible torture. They were given the rack. They were on the rack. And they signed at Holbeach. They never rounded all the plotters up, because the leaders of the plotters was Catesby. And Percy. Lord Percy. They were the plotters, they were the leaders, but they were at Holbeach, and an army was sent over there. And they said, take no prisoners. They didn't need the likes of Catesby or this Percy fella at trial. They wanted them dead because it could have been, notice could have been taken. So they were shot dead. I was in a documentary with two aristocrats. One was the descendants of the first person to be captured was Sir Everard Digby. And he was the descendant. I was talking to him. And there was another girl named Cassandra or Miranda, I forget now. Cassandra or Miranda, her name was Miranda. And she was the descendant of Catesby. And they knew exactly what I knew and what I'm saying now. They knew exactly. Anyway, they were all rounded up, put on trial, all found guilty, and they were sentenced to death. They were sentenced to hanged, drawn, and quartered. And that was a message to any Catholic out there. This could happen to you.
Yeah.
This could happen to you. But they couldn't get the... see, the likes of that Percy, he was the son of the Duke of Northumberland, who was Catholic. But they couldn't touch them, you see, because they were the elite. Especially the Norfolks couldn't touch the Norfolks because they were the rightful owners to the throne, as it is today. So they were all hanged, drawn, and quartered. But that one man, Shakespeare, now this is in 1606, the trial, wrote a play in 1606, Shakespeare, called Macbeth. The greatest play ever written. And he touched on the plotters. He touched on the trial, which was very important because he was a Catholic sympathiser. His mother was a Catholic. But if he didn't conform to anything, he wouldn't have been writing anything.
No. Did he kill them?
Yep. So he had to reform, to, like the protesters. But he had great Catholic sympathy. And he wrote the play Macbeth. And in the tragedy speech of Macbeth, he says, and all our yesterdays, meaning history, and all our yesterdays have lighted. Now, the lighted fools, if you look at it, was the image that Robert Cecil put out there, was the image of Guy Fawkes holding a torch and a lamp, and behind him was gunpowder. 36 barrels of gunpowder, the equivalent of 2 tons of gunpowder, which was impossible for them to get, and for them to get into the cellars of the most fortified building in the country, that was Parliament. It was impossible. So that was the image you have. Torch lit and a lamp lit. Guy Fawkes. Hence, lighted fools. All our yesterdays, which is history, have lighted fools the way to dusty death, because that's how they went to the death. They were dragged on a board, facing downwards, not heavenwards, facing downwards to hell. And they were dragged along the streets. Out, brief candle. Life is but a walking shadow, because your life is like a candle, lit, gone. Life is like a walking shadow. The walking shadow, like a fella hiding in the shadows. We've all heard of that before, haven't we? Hiding in the shadows.
Oh, yeah.
Was the spy Monteagle.
Yeah.
A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage. That's the witness. That's the likes of Guy Fawkes or whoever else. Everard Digby. A poor player that struts and frets his hour upon the stage, which is the witness box, and is heard no more. Because what he's saying, you're not going to hear it, because it's being lies that was written by Robert Cecil. It is a tale told by an idiot, full of sound and fury, signifying nothing. And who is that? Who's the idiot, full of sound and fury?
It's Cecil.
Robert Cecil. Robert Cecil. And Shakespeare wrote that. And they never had a fucking clue. But he was right. But it didn't stop. It carried on and on and on and on and on. Right through the years from the 1500s, from 1566. And the experiment, the stepping stone in Ireland by Sir Humphrey Gilbert. Right through Walsingham. Right through the two Cecils. The Page. Right through. That's how Charles I was executed. Right on. Because what you have this man. And who's he?
Oliver Cromwell.
And we all think that Robert Cecil, William Cecil and Walsingham were bad.
Yeah.
And what was this fella like?
This power mad despot. Just. Oh my God. The love of power and gain. You wouldn't think that could survive till today, would you?
Well, this is it, you see. What I'm going to do now, would you fancy coming back tomorrow night?
Yeah, of course.
And we'll do him.
Yeah.
Because we can turn let's see what's been saying. Let's see what they've been saying. Polo says, Frank. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, we've done that, haven't we?
Yeah. I think that was
sorry, go on.
I think that was the last one we
yeah. And Paulie's joined us. He says Owen looks like that these are late then. Evening all. Evening Paulie. Evening mate. And Polo says, Cecil was an agent provocateur, causing trouble, double dealing. Yeah,
Triple dealing.
it's like that Lindsey Graham.
Yeah. Yeah.
The outfield row. Evening Frank and Anthony. Yeah, look all Scottish for you, look.
Well, we share them. You've got a cold, haven't you? Here you go. Thank you, Anfield. Good evening to you. Hope you're well.
Yeah, look at that. Lindsey Graham is another provocateur. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, so is Kellogg. So is Kellogg, the general, the phony general. And there's another fella named Miller. He's horrible, Marco Rubio. He's not one, he's just a... Elizabeth's magician and spy, Dr. John D. Did he have much influence, Frank? Well, John D, he was a bit like Lindsey Graham, to be honest. And always he was there, he was a sort of entertainer. And a doctor, believe it or not, gave medicine. Well, it's what the outfield law says. Very interesting tonight, lads. I've got the cat on my lap. The mission's waxing lyrical about a great subject. But we haven't finished, to be honest, Anfield. Because what's happening is we're going to do, because it'll go on too long, about this man. It'll just go on too long. And we've only got, 20 minutes left. We can't do it within 20 minutes. That's why I've asked Anthony if he'll come back tomorrow. It will take too long, honestly. So we'll do Cromwell tomorrow. Is that all right with you, Anthony?
That's great with me, Frank. If your schedule's good for it, I'm good for it.
Because we have to talk about all these people.
There he is. Handsome, he ain't.
It just shows you, doesn't it? I was looking at the telly once, just a few years ago, that's all. And it was something about Cromwell. You have a Cromwell Day. And there's a statue of him outside Parliament, somewhere in the gardens or something.
Yeah.
And, you see them all around, but there was only a few of them. Just a handful of people. Yeah. I was expecting more.
Yeah.
But we'll be talking about him tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because it's very important that people really get to know about this fella. It's like the other characters, Walsingham and the two Cecils, who are ruthless people against their own people.
Yeah.
They cleanse them.
Yeah.
And this is why you was in 1620. This is why you had the Pilgrim Fathers.
Yeah.
Now the Pilgrim Fathers, as all this thing going on to Catholics, there was another cult that came about. And again, the Elizabethans were saying, fuck this, you've got to get rid of this lot. and they were the Puritans. They were the Puritans. They didn't like what they were coming up against. So these people, it was William Bradford, and they were exiled. They were actually exiled to Holland. Now, Holland was a Catholic country. And they tried to influence their Puritanism on the Dutch. So the Dutch went, oh, fuck you, so they threw them out. I'm putting it in a nutshell, as I said. So they threw them out. And in this country, with them all coming back, so they said, listen, we're going to send you over to the New World, the New Jerusalem. So Bradford said, yeah, all right. As he's the leader. So they have the Mayflower and this other ship to sail them over to Virginia. Because the first Virginians were the English.
Yeah.
So anyway, they set off to Virginia, but they were blown off course. And they landed at Cape Cod. And when they got to Cape Cod, what they seen, they thought, this is Jerusalem. Hallelujah. Because what they seen was log cabins. They said, look what the Lord has done for us. Look at this. He's even give us houses. And land, look at the land, look at the crops. Who do you think they belong to?
The true natives of America.
Absolutely. Absolutely. People think that the indigenous native fucking lived in wigwams, teepees. They lived in log cabins. They were farmers.
Yeah.
They were hunters. They used to go after the bison. So that belonged to them.
Yeah.
And we're the next full year, the big bounty. A big bounty they had. And a big feast. Hence, every year you have in America what?
They have a Thanksgiving.
And they never mentioned the indigenous people who they fucking stole us off.
No. Again, you see the picture of Ireland being plundered and wherever else they want.
Because Ireland was plundered by the English after 1566 when the other fella got there, Gilbert. They just plundered. They had the fisheries. They had the wood. The wood, because back in those days, everything was built from wood.
Yeah.
So they had the forestry. They had everything. They had the land. They have fantastic farming, arable land in Ireland. They even had things, soil that burnt, hence peat. They had everything. And yet they treated the Irish with such contempt. Such contempt. That's why I read that out before.
Yeah, absolutely.
Shall I read it out again, just if people have missed it? Do you mind?
No, Frank, go to.
It should be read, shouldn't it?
It should be read because it's underlining what we're talking about now, which is no peaceful negotiation.
And this was written by a Liverpool scribe at the time named Thomas Churchyard. And he says, Gilbert himself, this is Sir Humphrey Gilbert, the half-brother to Sir Walter Raleigh.
To Raleigh.
And he says, Gilbert himself plays a prominent part in the suppression of this rebellion, because you had the Irish going, they were, fuck off, get out of our country. So they were rebelling against them.
Yes.
As colonel of the army in Munster, he was in command of operations and conducted them with such ferocity and such contempt for the Irish as to shock even those accustomed to the brutality of warfare at the time. He deliberately killed women and children with their men and laid waste the land in order to cause famine. He cut off the heads of his dead enemies and formed a lane of heads to the door of his tent, so that all the prisoners should pass through that lane. And he carries on by saying, brought great terror to the people when they saw the heads of their dead fathers, brothers, children, kinsfolk, and friends lie on the ground before their faces. And Humphrey Gilbert wrote to his mate, a poet named Philip Sidney, and he said, I slew all those from time to time that did belong to, feed, accompany, or maintain any outlaws or traitors, and after my first summoning of any castle or fort, if they would not presently yield it, I would not take it afterwards of their gift, but won it perforce, how many lives soever it cost, putting man, woman, and child of them to the sword. That was by Thomas Churchyard. And that letter was to the poet Sidney by the other fella, Gilbert. And this is how the English treated people.
Yeah.
This is how they grew an empire. Just like that.
Oh, yeah.
And I've always said all along that, the English didn't get into countries and go, listen, what we're going to do, we're going to build a few schools and, you'll be all right. We'll educate you. It wasn't like that. It was like what I've just read out.
Yeah.
It was like the gunpowder plotters.
Yeah.
It was like the purge in this country against certain people, people who worshipped, their religion. The religion that was once here anyway before another religion came on the bounce. Then you had another religion rising, and they were the Puritans. The Puritans. So you see, there's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
Regarding, from the gunpowder plot to the Charles I. Now, Charles I was married to Maria and Henrietta.
Yeah.
And she was a French princess who was Catholic.
Yeah.
And the likes of Cromwell, they used to go up deputations, to the king to say, like they do now. Even with the old Queen, they used to deputation from Parliament used to go up and talk over
Yeah.
everything every Thursday. Now they do with Charlie. They go up. This is what's being discussed. So they used to go up, and what they used to see Charles. Now there was a priest that they couldn't touch. When it says, these priests were executed, there was one priest who couldn't be touched, and that was a French priest who said mass for Marie Henrietta. You see?
Yeah.
And Cromwell used to go fucking ballistic because Charles used to be standing there at the back.
So he'd have to go through.
Yeah, and he was saying he's attending a Roman Catholic mass. So all the planning then was in full force, and that planning came about in 1620. So the process, everything is seeded, you see. Plans are always seeded. Then it comes into force. And it came into force in 1630, 1631. You had the Long Parliament, 1630. 1629, I'm sorry. It's what you call the Long Parliament. When they're debating everything. Everything. And Charles I was there because he was king. And what was happening was he wanted to trade, believe it or not, with Catholic countries. What's wrong with that? The likes of France, the likes of Italy, the likes of Portugal, the likes of Spain. He wanted to just trade. But they didn't like that, the parliamentarians. Some of them, these led by. Well, he never really led them, to be honest, Cromwell. Did you know
that? I knew. My understanding, he was a powerful figure. I always thought he was just a general, a military person, but he wasn't even that.
Well, he's a fucking farmer. That's what he was. And it wasn't until the Civil War that he became powerful. He became powerful more and more, and he was getting more people on his side.
Yeah.
It's because that Long Parliament lasted 2 years. So in 1631, Parliament was dissolved, and then Charles I, he took over the running of the country, and they didn't like it. They just didn't like it at all.
So this is not necessarily people like you and I, or our chatters living where we're living, because we would not have been allowed to voice our opinion. But the Parliament and the hierarchy of politics and business didn't like it.
No, I gave the wrong date, year. I'm sorry, I said 1631. It wasn't. It was 1642, the ending of the Long Parliament. And what happens in 1642? because they couldn't come to an agreement. And then there was a civil war. There was a civil war in the whole of the country. So you had the parliamentarians against the Cavaliers, the Royalists.
Yeah.
And it affected everybody.
Yeah.
It affected people here. It affected people here. Liverpool.
Yeah.
Because Liverpool, believe it or not, has always been radical. And they were parliamentarians. They were parliamentarians here in Liverpool. And what you had in 1644, between May and June 1644, the siege of the Liverpool Castle. And it took them 18 days to take the castle. 18 days. Because the people, the parliamentarians, held out. And you had Colonel Moore, who garrisoned the castle. And he was a parliamentarian. But unfortunately, when the likes of Prince Rupert came here, he scarpered. He left the people of Liverpool. He got off. And he left the people of Liverpool to fend for themselves. So it took them 18 days. They used cannon and everything to take down the castle and to storm it. And 360 citizens were killed. 360 Liverpool citizens were killed. And then Rupert got off then. The castle was secured by the Royalists. And then they just got off. They went up to Marston Moor in York. And that's another battle now.
Yeah.
So we'll be talking about that tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
Because this is when Cromwell started to Polo says, "You're Frank. The English elite 15th land clearance of Ireland and Scotland was ethnic cleansing." Yes.
Yeah.
What it was.
Yeah.
Not just Scotland, but here as well. You know, people don't realise about ethnic cleansing. Do they, Anthony?
No, they don't. And I was shocked at our chats leading up to us doing this program. You know, the extent of how long that ethnic cleansing mentality has lasted.
Exactly. Exactly. So tomorrow night.
Yeah. I'll put my armour on.
I'll brush my hair as well. Just want to say thank you to these people for sponsoring the programme. Got painting services, get them in, fully time saved, no cowboys, fully insured, 5-star customer ratings and customer references on request. These are brilliant people. If you need anything done, whether it's the outside or the inside, get them. They're also commercial. It's a commercial firm as well. So get them in. They're really good. And Johan says, seems like they perfected the craft of ethnic cleansing and exported the ideology to build a Commonwealth. Yeah, big empire.
Yeah.
That's what I said before, Johan. You know, they didn't just go into countries and say, yeah. They didn't go into India and said, yeah. It was horrible for it. And the British Raj. And you know what Raj means, obviously, and its rule, it was British rule, as in every other country around the world. And the empire was, I don't like empires. I don't like ethnic cleansing. I don't like wars. I don't like what's going on today in Venezuela. Now they're trying to take on Mexico. They're going to take Cuba. They're going to take Colombia. They're going to take Greenland. They want to they're going to war with Iran because Trump has just turned around and said if there's any Americans in Iran, get out. That's the green light for a bombing campaign. It's shocking what they're doing. And I say, ban FIFA. Ban FIFA from it. Oh, there's a little Myra. Hiya, Myra. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Myra.
She got engaged. She's dumped me. She dumped me. Myra's dumped me. She got engaged.
Oh, beautiful.
Great, isn't it?
Yeah.
And as she says, USA is a dying empire. Yeah, because, but that's something. Myra, you want to listen tomorrow night? Try and listen in tomorrow night. I know that you're listening to George Galloway tomorrow. Johan. Myra. Hiya, Myra. It's great to say Johan, isn't he?
Yep. Yep. Everyone.
So tomorrow night it should be good.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, obviously we're continuing it's just the parallels with then and today, which are absolutely mind blowing. So I look forward to what stopped that particular and how it turned out for the power hungry. And then,
but don't you think that it's happening today?
It is, Frank. It totally is, and I get that, and I do know what happened to the key players that we're talking about, and it's like today, what is going to stop this monstrosity, this evilness? What's going to stop it? And you look to history and you think, okay, that's what stopped it then. Let's hope that stops it now.
But the point is, unfortunately, there's no one to stop it because everybody's egging on wars. Everybody, because there's the EU, the likes of this Kaya Kallas saying that, yeah, Iran needs bombing. What for?
What for?
Yeah. And she's the top diplomat of the EU, and she's saying They need bombing.
Well,
Everybody's saying it.
we're back to the same snides, aren't we? We were in the 1500s.
Yeah. They're all the bangaras, every single one of them. It's all money making. It's a big washing machine as well as in Ukraine, as I said, because all the billions that's going in there gets laundered and comes back out to them. It's shocking. And you have a megalomaniac in America who wants a peace prize, yet he's complicit in what's happening in Gaza, the genocide, killing of children.
Yes.
Just like that child, as I mentioned before.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look at that. Being given a lollipop, a bit of kindness shown to that little girl who's just surrounded by bombs and shells and shootings. Look at her. Beautiful little child. Her eyes filled up with tears. And she's dead. That upset me. That upset me. And for anyone to say that he didn't give a toss about it. And Johan says, people are retweeting a Zionist lady from Canada lighting a cigarette with the Ayatollah's face burning. The psychological op is getting lazy. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
They're all neo-Nazis anyway. The Zionists. It's shocking. It's sickened me about Venezuela. I was really upset about it.
Yeah.
You know, a sovereign country being invaded.
Yeah.
And Maduro, a sitting president, and his wife being kidnapped.
Yeah.
And his wife ended up with a terrible black eye and a cut to her forehead and broken ribs. How did that happen?
Well,
And the West hasn't said nothing.
We've seen how it happens now in every social media. It's there in front of us. And how blatant can it be? And yet we still do nothing.
Yeah, but they were up in arms. They were up in arms, aren't they, over Russia going into Ukraine. And they had a right to go into Ukraine.
Yeah.
And what's Ukraine to us? Nothing. What's Ukraine to fucking Europe? Nothing. And it's just because Russia went in. And yet they were up in arms. They wanted a fucking big war with Russia, which they're doing now anyway.
Yeah. It's poking the bear, Frank. It's been poking the bear. That's what shithouses do. They poke him.
But what about Venezuela? Does anyone say anything? No, not a dicky fucking bird.
No.
Nothing.
No.
He said absolutely nothing. This is the hypocrisy. And the hypocrisy of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Big hypocrite, him. I think he's mentally unstable.
Yeah,
I thought Biden was bad, but this fella, you know.
Yeah.
I'm just so fed up, Anthony. It really is annoying. It got to me, the Venezuela thing. And if you think that's bad, wait till you're there tomorrow night about this prat. Him. Him.
National hero? I don't think so.
But anyway, on that note, thanks, Johan. Thank you, Myra. Thank you, everybody. Polo, the old kit and caboodle. TW, the old joined us.
Yeah,
Youngfield Road.
Anfield, yeah.
Paulie, Owen Lee.
Yeah.
Do you know you don't see that little into Ellis, Bella. Do you know who else who never joined us? Arthur Asky.
Arthurowski?
Yeah, never joined us.
Ah,
But on that note, do you mind if I give you the ring in about half an hour?
could you? But could we do it in the morning? I say for why, Frank, because I've got to sort some stuff out, and then I'm up again 6 o'clock in the morning.
I'm not ringing you at 6 o'clock in the morning.
No, 6:30 is cool.
Fuck off. All right.
Or I'll phone you when you're meditating.
Okay. All right, mate. So I'll speak to you tomorrow. I just want to thank everybody who's joined us tonight, including the latecomer there, Myra Page. Thank you so much. Johan, everybody, thank you. And we'll see you tomorrow, hopefully.
Yeah.
Cheers, Anthony.
Cheers, Frank.
Thank you.
Good night, all. See you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Speak tomorrow as well. Okay.
In the morning.
Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Buonanotte. Ci vediamo domani.